Now we are going to study about SQL. So the full form of SQL is Structure Query Language. So if you want to give an introduction to SQL, the first thing is that it is widely used query language. So you know what is the meaning of a query? Query means it's a statement that usually retrieve information which is stored from a database. So we know database contains the set of or the collection of interrelated data, and using a query statement we can retrieve information from the database. But the structured query language, so there's a term query is there inside this language. Actually it does something more than just querying from database. So the major functions of SQL or major tasks of SQL are it contains the functionality in order to define the structure of data. That is, here it is a type of relational database. That means here in the case of structured query language, all the informations are stored as different tables. So if you want to define a table, which are the different attributes or which are the different columns of each table, so it can be defined. The second point is that we can modify the database. That means if you want to add new table to the existing database, it is possible. If you want to delete any particular table from the existing database, it is also possible. So that is the second function. The third functionality is it allows us to specify certain security constraints. So we studied about all the discussed about the security constraints. So these are the major tasks or major functionality which are available in SQL. So as an overview, that is if we are discussing about the SQL overview, actually it was developed by IBM, and the original version of SQL was called CQ, and it was introduced in 1970. And later it changed its name to Structured Query Language. And now SQL is the most popular or the standard relational database language. So you know the meaning of relational database language. Relation means table. So in this type of relational database language means that here the database consists of a large collection of tables. Some of the tables may be related. So whatever may be, the language is used in order to take value from this database. And next topic, we already studied this one, but here we are studying with respect to the SQL language. Which are the parts of SQL language? The SQL language has different parts. That is, it contains certain commands for defining, deleting or modifying the relation. So always remember that instead of table, we are using the term relation. That is, both are same. Relation or tables, that means same. And the first part of the SQL language is data definition language. That means this language contains certain commands which are used for defining the relation schema. Relation schema means structure of a table. If you want to create the structure of a table, so here we are studying in detail, little bit detail, more detail when compared to the previous SQL language. So in data definition language, we know that we are storing all the information as different tables. So we can define the structure of a table, that is called the relation schema, which are the different columns or attributes. Columns are also called attributes. So which are the different columns available? What about the data type? Like that. And next one is if you want to delete relation. So as I said, suppose that there is a table is already there in the database, and if you want to delete it, it is also possible. The third one is modify the relation database. Suppose that there is a table which contains 3 columns. Suppose we want to add a new column to the existing table. So it is possible. So that is called the modifying the relation schema. Existing structure of a table, if we need to be modified, that is, suppose if you want to delete a column or if you want to insert one more column to the existing relation or table, it is possible using the data definition language. So it contains, this language contains, or this part contains a set of commands which allows you to do all these operations. The second category or second part is data manipulation language. So already I mentioned that manipulation means we are manipulating the data inside the database. So this language contains certain commands which are used for query information from the database. That is, if you want to select or if you want to take some values which are already stored in the database, it is possible by using appropriate commands. Then it also allows to insert or delete tuples to or from the database. For example, if we have a table, each row of the table is called a tuple or a record. Suppose if you want to insert a new record to the table, for that we have to use insert command. In the same manner, suppose if you want to delete any particular row from a table, we have to use the delete command. In the same manner, suppose if you want to make any modification to the existing data in a table, suppose my name is Anu, if my address is changed or my phone number is changed from the existing one to new one, I want to make modification to my information in the database. For that, I have to modify the tuple. Okay, so these are the set of commands that are available in SQL for which come under the category data manipulation language. So we will study each of them in detail later. So now we are just giving an overview of the parts of the SQL language. And next is called the integrity. So what is an integrity? Integrity means that the data definition language, as we specified earlier, that is the first part, which contains different commands for setting or for creating the schema, relation schema. That means suppose that if you want to create a table, so already I wrote different statements for creating tables. And if you want to create a table and if you want to give some integrity constraints, that is the data stored inside the table must satisfy certain conditions. So suppose if you are making any modification, first of all, it will check with this condition. If the conditions are made, then only the updations or new changes or new entries can only be made. So that is called the integrity. Integrity means DDL contains different commands that are used for specifying the integrity constraints that the data stored in the database must satisfy. Suppose that if you are making any updation to the existing data, if it violates the integrity constraints, it will not be allowed. So that is the meaning of integrity. Then next part is it allows certain commands for doing view definition. So we all know about the concept of a view. So in all my examples, I took the example of FISAC. So FISAC contains a database which contains different informations about each and every person, so each and every course and each and every student of the college. So here the entire data will not be available to each and every persons who are using the database. Okay, so for a student is we have to create one view, because for a student we can only allow to retrieve certain informations which are available to student, which include the marks, sessional marks, your attendance percentage, like that. So that is one view. And another view may be the view of a teacher or a faculty. So their view will be different. That is, some more information from the database will be available to them. So in that manner, the DDL data definition language contains different commands for creating the view. Okay, defining the view, which all parts should be visible to a particular type of user. So that is called a view, and for defining the view, certain commands are available. Then transaction control. So SQL contains different commands for doing the specifying the transaction. So for example, if you are considering a transaction in a bank, actually the term transaction means suppose we are transferring a fund from one account to another. So where it starts, the transaction will start whenever we are taking money from one account, and it ends whenever it reaches that other account. So that is the meaning of transaction in our banking case, banking area. But here, in the same manner, here also there is a transaction. There is a term called transaction is there. We will study them in detail in the last, in the 5th module. So now just understand that the SQL contains certain commands for doing the transaction control. That is for specifying the starting and ending of each transaction. So these are the other than them, some more two more functionality or two more types of commands will be available in SQL. The first one is called embedded SQL and dynamic SQL. So we all know that we are doing programs in high level programming languages like Java, CPP, etc. And SQL here in this embedded SQL means we can embed the SQL queries or SQL statements inside different high level language program in order to access data from the database. So such commands are also available, or such SQL statements are also available. So the embedded SQL will define how to write an SQL statement inside the, or a SQL statement, how we can embed an SQL statement inside any programming language. So that is called, it is also available in SQL. Then authorization. We said about different types of authorization, that is access rights. Which all access rights can be given to each tables or each views. So it also contains certain commands for specifying the authorization, access rights, which should be given to tables. That means certain table will not be available to certain views, certain persons. So we have to create a view, or we can, whenever we are creating a view, we can also give the access rights. So which all access are permitted to that types of views or tables like that. So these are the different types of different parts of an SQL language. So whenever we study the SQL language, we will study in detail about each and every command. That is, the first type is for modifying or for creating relation, modifying relation, deleting relation. The second one is, here we are just giving the term relation because it is a relational database language. It's a standard. Here we are storing all the information as tables. The next one is data manipulation language, in order to manipulate the data inside each relation, like inserting value to a relation, deleting values from a relation, or updation, making updation or modification. Then integrity means the conditions that the data inside the relation must satisfy. It also SQL provide commands for specifying the integrity constraints. And whenever we are trying to make any updation, first of all the conditions are checked, and if satisfied, then only the updations will be visible. Otherwise, it will raise a condition that the constraint violated. Then view definition means the commands for specifying the defining the views, and we briefly explained what is the concept of a view. Transaction control will specify the beginning and ending of transaction. Embedded and dynamic SQL allows SQL statements to embed in certain high-level language like Java, C++, like that. Authorization means the commands for specifying the access right to specific tables or views. So now we are coming to the other part, that is the data definition in SQL data definition. Data definition, we already said that. Here we are going to describe the schema of each relation. That means which is the structure of each relation. Then the attribute types, integrity constraints, security and authorization, information of each relation, the storage structure. So all these informations are actually specified in data definition. So next, before starting studying in detail about how to write a command in order to create a table, or that is to define a relation, we have to study with certain data types which are available in SQL. So it actually depends on, suppose if you are doing the lab using Oracle, different versions are available, and in each version the types actually varies. Okay, so here's I just explained some of the basic data types which are available in SQL. All of you know the details. It is we already studied the data types in C. So it is similar to that. The character data type, variable character, integer, small integer, numeric. So here the difference is that in numeric type data, suppose here P means precision, and D means it's a decimal part. Suppose if you want to, as an example, suppose if you are taking numeric 3,1, that means that the entire digit contains three numbers will be there, in which only one position, one decimal value will be there. That is total 3 numbers, in which 1 in the decimal part and 2 in the position part. Okay, so that is, for example, 44.5. Here one number is there. After point, there is only one number is there. Before that, two numbers are there. So total three digits are there. So that is the meaning of the numeric value. Then real, double, precision, float, etc. So these are the different types of data types which are available in SQL. So now we are going to study how to create a schema. How to create a schema means how to define or how to create a table. So remember, schema means structure. And in SQL statement, suppose that if you want to write a query, or sorry, not query, if you want to write a command or a statement whose aim is to create a table. So the first thing is that we have to specify the name of the table, and after that we will specify the attributes, that is attribute names of which all attributes are available in that table, and along with each attribute we have to specify the data type of each field. For example, in this figure I am going to create a table called department, and it contains four different fields. The first one is the department name, the second one is the building, third one is the budget. So here we have to, here I just wrote about the primary key, so now no need to think about it now. We are just writing simple statements. So first thing is, if you want to create a table, you have to specify the name of the table, and after that you have to specify the field names along with its type. Okay, so how we will write the command? We will write a command as create table. Okay, that is the command for that. After that you specify the table name. What is the table name? It is the department. And the department, then which are the different fields, we have to specify the name. There are certain points you have to consider while specifying the attribute name. That is, certain conditions are there, like when in C you already studied which are the different rules for declaring variable names. Okay, so the same thing we have to follow here. The space is not allowed. Here I have to make certain changes, that is, department name, the space is not allowed. Either you make it together, or you separate them using an slash or something. So here I am writing department name, building, budget. So I am just setting a primary key. So I said no need to think about the primary key now. So I am writing this statement. Okay, and I am running it on the SQL. So I will write the statement like this: create table. So here you can see that all the keywords are in pink color. So create table, it is a keyword. Department, that is the name of my table. Then I am specifying the name of each the fields inside the table along with the data type. So we have to, here we can specify the data type which is available to your version. Then I just specified the primary key. So no need to think about this now. I already said. Then after writing this one, suppose that whenever I am running the statement, I will get a message that table is created. If there is no error is present, I will get a message that the table is created. Okay. So suppose I will do it same thing. Suppose I'm going to create a table. Okay. Let it be, I'm going to create another table. Suppose in SQL worksheet I'm going to run it. So here I'm not writing completely, I'm just trying to explain. Create table D. Here I took a DPT as another name. So here we can use whatever name you want. And after, one important point is that after each statement in SQL you have to write semicolon. So in C, I think you already studied. So semicolon is there. So after that I am trying to run this one. So I am just giving for you. Since the DPT is already created table, I am just giving another name, department. So what is the meaning of this query? I'm just giving the name department 1 because department 1 they are already created by me. So for you I am going to create a new table which is called department 1. Okay, so two fields are there, the department and building. So I'm not at all using any primary key here. So after that select the enter statement, then you run it. If there is no error, yeah, you will get the message that the table is created. Okay, so that is the idea of creating a table. So what are the steps? You just want to write create table, table name. After that specify the first field of the table, its type, second field comma, second field its type, and if all the fields are completed, then you have to close the braces because here we already started the brace. Then you write the semicolon, then select all and you run. That is only we are using in live SQL. So if you are doing everything and running the program, you will get, if there is no error, you will get the message as table created. And what happens, suppose that if you are again, so now that a table is there called department 1. Suppose I am again trying to create the same table. Suppose I am if I am trying to run it for the second time, you will get an error message. So what is it? The name already used by existing object. Why? You already created table with the name department 1. But if you are using another name, it is possible. Suppose instead of that I am using department 2 and suppose I am trying to run it again, you will get a message the table is created. Okay, so that is very important one. If you already created a table with one name and if you are again trying to create another table with the same name, it is not possible. And this is the idea. So I think it is clear now. Then the next thing is that, so we studied how to declare a table. Now the next thing, this is already I explained the different fields and along with its type is there. And this is the overall syntax of the create table statement. So here create table statement syntax is create table, R means the relation name, that is the table name, in bracket open, first attribute A1, first attribute data type 1, second attribute its data type, like that, last attribute its data type. If you want to add any integrity constraints like primary key, foreign key, not null, anything like that, after specifying the last attribute you put a comma, then you can specify the integrity constraints, and after that you close the brace and semicolon. Okay, so we will study in detail how to set a primary key. So these are certain guidelines for creating a table. If you want to create a table, just go through this. You already know all this concept. So that's all about the first part of introduction to SQL.